If you're wondering why it took so long to make this video and come up with another upload, watch this. This is what I gotta deal with, dog. This is what I gotta deal with. This ain't right. You see these trees bending in half? Well, as you can see, the reason why I haven't been making a bunch of videos as of late is because the weather has been awful. I mean, I got a tree about to land on my deck right now. It's pretty terrible. That said, I had a pretty good idea. Yeah, so it's been like that every day. Every day. I can't catch a break. I can't film indoors. I couldn't film outdoors. God dang, man. What day is today? The 18th? This is my 18th try. Yeah, so anyways, during the month of June, you have a lot of options and a lot of places where you can go to catch all kinds of target species, and some of them I'm pretty sure are on a lot of people's bucket list. So without any further ado, these are the places you need to be at during the month of June, whether you have a vacation planned or if you're, thinking about booking a trip for this year, next year, maybe even your best target species, your best chances during this month. It gets pretty hot. This is where you need to be at right now. Number one, starting with Blue Marlin out of Hatteras, North Carolina. That's a good place you need to be at right now. Hatteras is actually pretty famous for big redfish, but Blue Marlin fishing is on fire during the month of June. Most of them are running somewhere between 200 and 500 pounds. Those are some actually, pretty good average size marlin. And there's a really good fishery going on right now out of North Carolina, which is pretty accessible. You're not booking a big trip to go out of the country or anything like that. If Blue Marlin is on your bucket list, you can pretty accessibly get right over to North Carolina and find yourself a charter to get out on the coast, and you can find you some pretty good marlin fishing right about now. Number two, this one's one of my favorites, Rooster Fish out of Mexico, Panama, and really just the whole kind of Central America and Mexico area. There's really good rooster fish fishing going on right now. Normally during the last 2 weeks of June and maybe like the first week of July even, they start to taper down as you start to get a little bit further in the next month. But rooster fish fishing is through the roof throughout all of June, especially during the last 2 weeks. I myself have a trip planned up coming for another rooster fish trip. I've been going down every year, June and early July, every year, the past 3 years down there, and it's unbelievable. The rooster fish fishing is affordable, it's really accessible, and it's just really sweet stuff. I mean, it's amazing when you see those giant combs on their backs come stick up out through the water and they're just rushing towards the topwater bait or towards a live bait. Most of the fishing is live bait. It's unreal. So rooster fish fishing is very good right now. The saltwater fishing here in Georgia is actually very good. We're pretty slept on as far as fishing in general, actually, but the saltwater fishing especially. Nobody saltwater fishes in Georgia. The license is actually free. We get a saltwater permit for residents. I'm not sure about non-residents, but it's actually free if you're a resident. The saltwater fishing in Georgia is actually really good right now during the month of June. You get some early season tarpon, but on top of that, it's peak season for triple tail actually. And also flounder. The flounder run has came back around starting June and lasts a little bit towards the end of summer, but June is the first month where we get that really big first push of flounder that come in. And some of them are straight up dormants. We're talking about 20+ inch flounder that come in. Triple tail fishing is at its peak right now. Near shore, any marker buoys, and especially with the incoming tide when the water comes in, you can spot these fish. They'll just be drifting with the tides. Now, normally you want to have a couple of people on the boat with you. It's good for a family trip. You can have somebody just be a spotter. Oh, there's one over there. They're just big, dark blobs in the water. You see them floating by. So you can have somebody up on the top spotting them, and you can have other people, taking turns casting and picking them off. A lot of fun right now, man. Triple tail, right down around the coastal Georgia area. Number four, this is a pretty wild one. You ain't even gonna believe me when I say this. There's actually a pretty good Makeo Shark fishery on freaking fly rods out of San Diego, California right now. Take yourself a charter, go out with your, the captain of your choice who specializes in shark fishing. Go out there and bring your 12 weight, bring your, even heavier than that, your billfish rods that you use for flies. Anything that can handle a bluefin tuna or a sailfish on a fly rod or something like that. You'll be pretty well equipped to go toe-to-toe with these Makeo Sharks. And we're talking about fish that are up to 300 pounds. You want to go for a fight, a real serious fight, a Makeo Shark on a fly is going to take you for a ride. I'm talking about you may be hooked up for well over an hour trying to pull that thing in with that with a fly rod. It's the most ridiculous thing. Okay, so the flies of choice are normally big, gouty poppers and big streamers. Reds and oranges are normally the colors of choice. Any captain that specializes in it will probably have a bunch of this stuff on hand for you. You don't have to worry about that. But Makeo Sharks, freaking sharks on fly rods out of San Diego, you got to go out there and do that. Late June is also the month where you start to get into some really good fishing out of Louisiana. You're looking at yellowfin tuna, somewhere between about 60 and 80 pounds, most of them. There's a lot of good yellowfin fishing going around the oil rigs and things like that offshore right now. Also, you've got your other fish that, you know, frequent the reefs and the oil rigs and things like that. But the main attraction is really the yellowfin fishing. There's some super good yellowfin tuna fishing going down right now. You can catch them on live baits, but also a variety of artificial lures. You can get tunas on tuna poppers, which is probably the most fun thing. That's what I would opt for if I was you. Tuna poppers, jigs, and other types of plugs and things like that, stick baits and stuff too. But definitely some really good tuna popper fishing, as well as chunk baits and live baits going on right now out of Louisiana. June is also a really good month for pulling off a flats grand slam. If you're gonna go out to, well, several places, the Bahamas, Belize, the Florida Keys, certain bits and pieces of Mexico, you have your best odds, or some pretty good odds, at pulling off a grand slam. That means tarpon, bonefish, and permit, all in one day. Permit are coming up, they come in and out with the tides. They're up there looking for crabs. Tarpon, you can get them on most streamers. They're up looking for bait fish, and in a lot of these places you actually have a chance of pulling off a super grand slam and actually getting a bonus snook in the mix. And use that. Now, as far as rods, you should bring your 8 weight, your 9 weight, and something heavier, because a lot of these tarpon that are moving around right now are the migrational tarpon. These are some big fish. We're talking about some that are over 100 pounds. So go out there with your 12 weight. 11 weight, 12 weight is kind of about the heaviest you need to bring. So 8s, 9s, and 11s is about the happy spot where you kind of want to take your fly rods down there and pull off that flats grand slam. It's going to be a really, really, really good month to pull that off. Next up is the GT, the giant trevally. Now, for some reason, everybody thinks that you have to go all the way to Australia to catch GTs, but there's actually a really, really good GT fishery that goes down in Hawaii. June is one of the peak months to go out there and try to catch one. You're fishing for them over reefs mostly and very rocky areas. You don't even need a boat for some of these fisheries. There are people that catch them off the rocks, rocky shorelines, throwing big poppers and stick baits. Most of the areas you're going to be fishing are somewhere between, give or take, 15 and about 120 feet of water, and you're throwing big surface plugs. Now, this is another fishery you need to be eating your Wheaties and saying your prayers for, because the GT is a brutal fish to catch. That's one of the toughest pound-for-pound fighters in the world. So you're going to have a hard time doing that. And this is after you've been casting for hours trying to get one to eat. You're using 80-pound, 100-pound, sometimes heavier than that, 120-pound test line, and you're casting over and over and over and over again, trying to get one to come up and eat. But when you finally do, it's very, very rewarding. Now these fish range. Smaller ones, you're talking about 10, 15 pounds, maybe 20 pounds. But there are some that are over 70 that are out there, and they're waiting to see your popper over the top of his head. So if you're trying to catch a GT, or if it's on your bucket list, which is pretty much on everybody's bucket list, the GT is a good fish to go after in June. Believe it or not, there's actually some really good fishing going down out of Alaska right now, especially through the Kenai River. You have your shot at some pretty good sized rainbow trout and some sockeye salmon. There's rainbow trout, sockeye salmon, and actually halibut out there right now. Not in the river. The halibut are not in the river, but the rainbows and sockeye salmon are in the Kenai River right now, and pretty heavily during the month of June. You also have the shot at king salmon, but I think that the king salmon fishery is closed this year out there. But you have a shot at catching some giant wild rainbow trout. And these fish are way more impressive than your stocked hatchery trout that you get here at most places in the States. Especially here down south. Our trout are hatchery trout. Most of them are hatchery trout. They raise them at hatcheries and they dump them in the rivers. We have some wild fish, but they're not all that impressive, at least not as impressive as they are out there. you have some crazy trout fishing going down out in Alaska right now, as well as the sockeye salmon fishery. And if you're an offshore saltwater guy, you got your shot at some big halibut too right now. So you want to get at that right now if you're taking a trip to Alaska, if you're thinking about it right now. June is a very popular month though, so you would want to book in advance, maybe even book for next year if you're a cold water fisherman for those cold water species. Next is largemouth bass, of course, because even though this is way more than just a bass fishing channel, I gotta put it out there, man. Look, June is a fantastic month for bass fishing because most all the fish are post-spawn right now. There's a tiny little, depending on how far south you go, there's a teeny little subsection of fish that are still on beds. Other than that, these fish are post-spawn, they're hungry, they're angry, they're aggressive, they're getting back at these bluegills for terrorizing them and bothering them on their beds all month of the past 2 months of April and May. These bass are really big and really hungry. Now if you can find some that are transitioning, but June is kind of a transition month, so they're early June, there are fish that are in recovery mode. There probably still are some in recovery mode right now after spawning. Then there are some that are in just full-blown post-spawn. They're done, now they're just focused on feeding. And then there's that tiny little population of bedfish. But the easiest bass fishing going down right now is going to be in those transitional areas where you start to get off the banks. You know, they're on those shell beds. All of a sudden, they start showing up on shell beds. They start showing up on the ends of points. They start showing up in brush and stuff like that. And these bass are normally pretty willing, and they'll take a bait if you put it in front of them. And the bass fishing gets to be really good. It's a really good time of year to take a shot at a big one too. If you missed out on your 6, 7, 8, 9 pounder throughout February and March during the pre-spawn, you have a second opportunity where they're vulnerable during the post-spawn right now during June. So take advantage of that. This is another one. Take a shot at Peacock Bass down in Florida. I don't know why people don't talk about it, but the months of May and June are pretty much peak peacock bass fishing down in Florida. Of course, the butterfly peacocks and a little bit lesser known in that area, the speckled peacock. There's not as big of a population of them, but there's super good peacock bass fishing going down right now. They're a warm weather fish, and they pretty much like the sun. If you get out too early or too late in the day, they don't get to be very aggressive, so that's pretty good that you get to sleep in and stuff like that. You can go out in the middle of the day and catch peacocks. Topwater baits, swim baits, jerk baits, all of those will work. Just make them smaller than you would use for your average largemouth bass. If you got smallmouth bass lures or spotted bass lures, those are pretty well and good use for peacocks. Just anything that is mostly hard baits. They respond well to chatterbaits, they respond well to jerk baits, they respond well to rattle traps and most diving crankbaits and things like that. Just don't show them a lot of plastic if it's not a swim bait. They don't really care for that stuff too much. Just stick to the hard stuff, and especially topwater. Any walking stick bait that goes side to side across the top of the water, or any prop baits, those are also very good peacock bass lures. So get yourself down to South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, anywhere from West Palm Beach down. Pretty good area to go look for some peacock bass right now. Something else going down on the freshwater roster this month is walleye, especially out of Minnesota, around Lake of the Woods area. There are some gigantic walleye that get caught during this time of year as they're kind of transitioning from the shallow stuff to the deep stuff. They're out on points, they're on deep weed edges, they're on any reefs and all kinds of stuff like that as they're kind of transitioning. There is some really good walleye fishing going down. You can target them with both artificial and live bait, as well as a couple of different methods. You can try casting, but you can also do some trolling and things like that, and there's some really good walleye fishing going down right about now. Some fish will be small, so let's say 2 to 3 pounds, but there are some trophies that are getting caught right now as well. You've got a really good shot at catching some big walleye. And if you don't catch a bunch of big ones, you've got a really good shot at some numbers. You'll put some numbers up right now in June, so you might want to go do a little bit of walleye fishing if you haven't. Now, during the month of June, you also have a shot at catching some big lake trout and northern pike if you're willing to take yourself on a trip up to the great white maple syrup capital of the world and go to Canada. Take yourself a trip up there during the month of June. You've got great odds of getting some lake trout and some really nice northern pike. Now the lake trout, they'll put up a good fight, and they get pretty big too. We're talking about some pretty giant fish. For a lake trout, we're talking about 40, 50, 60 pounds. And these are some really old, really long-lived fish. It takes a lake trout a long time to get that big. So have some respect for those fish if you do catch one of those trophies. Just, you know, get a replica, take a picture, let it go. Even though they do taste delicious, or so I've heard. The pike fishing is insane right now. Pretty much anything that moves, a pike could eat. Some people like to troll with plugs, but casting with big spinners and big top waters and other things like that can also be productive. So right about now, June is a really, really good month to go up north to Canada and catch yourself some of those big old lake trout and big old pike. Last but not least is the lowly sunfish. Now, I'm not talking about just one type of sunfish, I'm talking about a couple of different kinds. That means bluegills, red-eared sunfish, red-breasted sunfish, and as for where you're looking for them, it's pretty much anywhere throughout the South. It doesn't matter if it's Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, anywhere right now, you're gonna be finding some beds, and around those beds there's gonna be some hungry bass too. I don't know why nobody's talked about that. This last month and a half, everybody's been beating you over the head with shad spawn, but the more reliable pattern is actually the sunfish spawn to me. But really good fishing for panfish going down right now. These sunfish are on their beds. They're in great big clusters. If you're fishing out of a boat and you've got side scan, you can see these clusters on your sonar. You'll be able to catch those fish. Even if you're just walking the bank or you're just getting some kids started, catching a pile of big brim off their beds is a really fun way to catch fish and introducing kids in how to fish. As far as baits and lures, really, you know, who hasn't caught a bluegill? Crickets work, live crickets, live worms, wax worms. You can catch grasshoppers in the front yard and catch them. Artificial lures, fishing for them with a fly rod has always been a pretty fun activity. A 3-weight fly rod and brim bugs, they call them. These little popping bugs, little micro poppers with the silly legs on them. Those work really good. And ultralight lures work well. Rebel crick hoppers, Rapala original floaters, just downsize them real small. And these bluegills and red-eared sunfish, these panfish will come straight up to the surface and just peck them off. Really good, really fun fishing, and a good way to fill up a cooler full of brim for a fish fry. So that's what's going down in June. Nationally, internationally, state to state, coast to coast. Those are your best fishing opportunities going on right about now. If you like this type of content, if you guys enjoy figuring out what there is to catch and where to catch them at, let me know so I can do more of these. I figure I'll probably make it a monthly thing. There is way more out there than just bass fishing. So, till next time.